process of it. You know, we've been doing comparisons between 401k and IUL, so we're going to continue with that so that your knowledge, you know, you're knowledgeable. You know, I think that if you increase your knowledge, you'll increase your confidence. If your confidence is increased, you'll take more action. You obviously take more action, you're going to get more results. Now, you don't need the knowledge to take action, but it does help because we want you to become independent. And for you to be independent, you need to know what you're doing. Right? So, you know, not only do you need to have the excitement and the energy, but to back it up with the facts and the details and, you know, to really know what you're talking about and be able to talk about it with confidence is going to give you the power to go out there and make some money and help some people. So give it up for Matt Chang to go through.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
You guys fired up?
Yes.
Should be all the time. You guys hear me talk about it all the time.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'd rather be fired up because I know what's going to come into my life than be negative and attract a whole bunch of bad stuff that's going to come into your life. Right? So today's just a important subject. It's just as important as going out and getting wide out in the field. Because when you're getting wide out in the field, that's more appointments you're going to be on. Right? You recruit somebody, make them a client, top 25 list, now you're out field training. And then, so that's what this is going to be about today, is really just building an illustration, how to sell it. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
How to sell it, and then how do you transition to closing, right? Well, I'm going to start off with a couple things. One is, yes, you are in sales. Get over it. You haven't heard me say that before. But now, because you are in sales, that is a skill, correct?
Yes.
That is a skill that you can pretty much take anywhere, because a lot of the communication things that you learn here will transition into other areas, right? So I'm going to give you guys some books that you guys want to get your hands on. Right? You guys know I'm big on self-development. One of the first authors is Grant Cardone, which you guys know we have a partnership with Grant Cardone and WFG. So that's huge. So some of the books I would recommend is Sell or Be Sold, 10 Times Rule, and Be Obsessed or Be Average. So 10 Times Rule and Be Obsessed and Be Average, that's more of your mindset than anything else. Like, how sold out are you, not only to WFG, but to what you provide to the client. Right? Like, I have a lot of friends in Primerica, but guess what? They ain't making money. Not everybody just wants strictly term, do they? Right? So those are a few from Grant Cardone. 2 books from Tom Hopkins. Mastering the Art of Selling Anything. That's the first book. The other book is Low Profile Selling. I just finished Low Profile Selling a couple months ago. Awesome book. Okay? And of course, a few books in the industry. Patrick Kelly's books, Tax-Free Retirement, Retirement Miracle. You want to be very well versed at an IUL, how it works, why it works, how to describe it, all the benefits, and really there's no drawback. Unless you don't qualify for life insurance. I mean, really, that's it, right? There's another book. The author's Jake Thompson. It's called Money, Wealth, and Life Insurance. Okay. Last 2 books, Tony Robbins. Money Mastering the Game and Unshakable. If you haven't read either of those books yet, you are totally missing out. Money Mastering the Game, yes, it's like 600 pages, but he interviews the 50 wealthiest people in the United States and asks them, what are you doing with your money? And he takes what they talk about and puts it in a very simplistic formula in Unshakable. So make sure you get both. Right?
What's the book called for Jake Thomas?
Money, Wealth, and Life Insurance. By the way, I have that in PDF, so if you have an iPad or an iPhone or a Mac, I can airdrop it to you. So, by the way, if you don't have one of those, get with the program. Get an Apple product, please. It just makes life a lot easier. You can get information a lot faster. All right. So here's what we're gonna do tonight. Who's brought their iPad or tablet with them? Okay, so you guys got the memo. Okay, so for those guys that didn't bring yours, you probably didn't check the WeChat in time, right? You're gonna wanna partner up with someone that does have a tablet or a laptop with them, because we are gonna be doing case scenarios tonight. Okay, I'm gonna have 3 specific real world case scenarios. Not something like, okay, somebody can just drop 10 grand in a year. And no, I'm gonna give you actual real world examples, because these are clients that I have that are perfect examples of that. Well, let's start with some of the basics. When you're out in the field, when you're sitting down with clients, like let's say if I'm sitting down with Thomas and Janina, and I'm talking to them about preparing for the future and whatnot, during your KTP, you should be asking certain questions, right? Like some of the questions I like to ask is, how well do you understand money on a scale of 1 to 10? They'll say 5 or 6, right? And those of you that have been out in the field with me, you hear me say this all the time, right? And they say, okay, we're a 6. Okay, so my job today, Thomas and Janina, is to take that 6 and turn it into a 7 or an 8. Sound fair? Yeah. So I'm letting them know I'm here to educate them first before we actually get through the whole sales process. Because most people, when they talk to an advisor, they talk to them, they're like, okay, you go to Charles Schwab Merrill Lynch, you're just going to sell them a product. It's like, here's a product, bam, bam, you're done. Right? That's the beautiful thing about WFG is we're going to sit down with the client, we're going to educate them, find out what they got, then we're going to help them. And that's the reason why more clients are going to stay with us versus any other firm, is because we take the educational approach first versus anything else. Right? And then as I'm asking certain questions, I'll ask them, so do you guys have a budget that you're working with every single month? How much are you guys saving? Where are you guys saving that money? Right? And some people say, oh, I put $200 a month away into a savings account and I'm saving, say, $400 a month into my 401k. Okay, when they say something like that, you should be making a mental note on, okay, they're putting away $400 a month into their 401k.
Yep.
Right? Then I'll ask them, Thomas, Janina, how well do you understand how your 401k works? Because I want them to tell me how their perception of it and how it works, because when I get to selling the illustration, they're going to be like, man, I didn't know that this was available to me, right? Or why is this so much, why is the IUL so much far superior to my 401k? And they're going to say, well, we know we can put money in with pre-tax dollars. We don't pay the taxes now, but when do you pay them? You pay them when you actually access the money, right? I want you guys to write down this question, okay? Now, when you hit 65, do you know what your tax bracket is going to be when you're ready to retire?
No.
I want you guys to write that down and ask that question in your KTPs. Do you know what your tax bracket's going to be when you're 65? You know what the natural answer people say? Oh, it's going to be in the lower tax bracket. Like, who told you that? Your house is paid off, your kids are out the house, you have nothing to write off. So you're actually in a higher tax bracket. But yet you're putting your money into an account that you have no clue what it's going to perform, you have no guarantees, and you don't know what your tax bracket's going to be. You potentially put yourself in a 35 to 40, maybe even a higher tax bracket than that. Right? That's the $1 million question, literally. If you had $1 million in a 401k, how much of that is actually yours? They're like, and most people think, well, all of it. No.
No.
You still got to pay your taxes, right? So that's one thing. So knowing if they say, okay, we're saving $400 a month into an IUL, let's just say that's what Thomas is doing at his job, and Janina says, oh, I'm saving $300 a month. I already know I got $700. But now notice too, I asked if you're saving money to a savings account, how much do they have in your savings account? Perfect example, I was out in the field with Krista, and her daughter had money saved, she fully funded a policy for an entire year. Helps reduce chargebacks, by the way. Okay. And also too, if you have people that are already saving money, that also reduces the chance of you getting a chargeback. Right, I was having a conversation with Thomas last night via text. I tell him a lot of the policies that I write are minimum 250 to 400. You guys all right over there? So you don't scroll social media during GT. I'm just giving you crap. Right? But now, from personal experience, all the apps I write that are minimum 250 and above never charge back. Anybody written a policy and their 115 charges back?
Yeah.
Like religiously?
Yeah.
Okay? Because after, like, most people treat $150 like it's nothing.
Yeah.
That's why if you get people that are already saving $300, $400, $500, over like 3 or 4 months, they're like, shoot, I'm already in $1,500. It's kind of like when you buy a house. When you buy a house, how much are you putting down? You're putting down like 10 to 20%. If you're putting down like 50, 60, 70 grand, you ain't walking away.
Yeah. That's
So
our
one
front
other
load.
thing that you want to do is encourage your clients to fully fund a policy for the first year. Help reduce your chargebacks. Keeps your persistency up.
Mhm.
By the way, a lot of the company trips, you gotta have at least a 70% persistency.
Yep.
And if your persistency doesn't meet that, even though you might have hit all the numbers for the trip, you ain't going.
Yeah.
So you look at your overall business and what you've written, right? Like if you pull up my numbers right now, I'll tell you I'm at about a 74% persistency. It's dropped a little bit, a few little chargebacks, right? But that happens when you write a lot of business. That's part of the game. You just gotta go write more business. But just make sure you're in the right markets where you're sitting down with mainly people that are married homeowners, kids that really understand what we do, right? And especially if you're sitting down with somebody that's married homeowners, kids, like Janina and Thomas, or like Misael and his wife and their kids, you're writing at least 5 to 7 apps in one house. Right? I think I forgot who I was talking about this in the Mo Zone. It's like if you just sell someone one product, you're just a salesman. I was talking to CJ about this. If you sell a client one product, you're just a salesman. But if they have, say, an IUL, a term, and an Everest, you're their advisor. You got them locked in, right? You're on their team because they want to trust you long term. That's why they're going to give you all this information to help them, right? And so you guys should be thinking when you're out in the field. We're going to mainly talk about IUL, but if let's just say they say, okay, we're saving say $700 total between the two of them. I'm going to factor in that I'm going to make sure I want to do an Everest, right? Do a full care package, do an Everest and a term. Now, how I want you guys to think of the term and the IUL together is your term should be for all their liabilities, things that will be paid off, like a house, cars, kids that move out the house, right? So like if Thomas's insurable need is say 800 grand, as an example, because he makes $80,000 a year at his job, I'll probably put in maybe $500,000 in a term, but I want an IUL big enough that he can overfund over time and grows big cash value. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And then you also factor in, like I said, you look at an Everest is probably no more than 30 to 40 bucks for a $10,000 policy, depending on how old somebody is. Like I'm 34 years old, I got an Everest. For a $20,000 policy, it's only 33 bucks. That's like, what, literally $8.50 a week? No, $9 a week. And I have a final expense policy that's gonna take care of the immediate need while my wife waits for the rest of all the other life insurance investments to come in, right? So let's start with actually building an illustration. So I'll just use myself as an example. Okay. Couple things. Make sure you put in their full first and last name. Also, too, do not just put in just their age. You want to be very accurate, right? You want to put in their actual date of birth because if they're within 6 months of their next birthday, they're going to be rated at the next birthday. So like I'm born in January, so if this policy was written in say July, I get rated at 35 already, not at 34. And it also applies to your term. On your Everest, that's still as stated age, I'd still be rated at 34, regardless, right? So as you're building the illustration, you ask them certain questions when you're out in the field. You're a field underwriter. You ask them, hey, do you have any health conditions I should be aware of? Right? When's the last time you saw the doctor? Are you healthy? Are you taking vitamins? Whatever the case may be. You want to know that information up front because that'll actually help you make sure whether or not you can get them qualified. Right? Like if somebody says, one of the Everest policies I wrote last week, husband said I had a heart attack 2 months ago. Because I had to ask him, did you have a heart attack? Have you had a heart attack or any heart conditions in the past 2 years? He's like, yeah, I just had one 8 months ago. Thank God that we can still do Everest, return premium. Right? But he knows it's like, I would love to have an IUL. I wish I would have seen this earlier. Right? But by the way, this is another caveat to go along with this. He was introduced to Primerica 30 years ago and their whole buy term invest the difference didn't work. term's getting ready to expire. Never advise them to do invest the difference. Because guess what? What are most of their agents licensed for? Just term. They can't do the investment side. Right? That's the beauty of WFG and an IUL. Right? But that also, even for me, it's like, I need the securities license. Because sometimes you may have the client says, hey, I want to put money into a mutual fund. Or hey, I want to start a Roth IRA. Da, 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 da. Right? You want to make sure you're fully licensed over time. But make sure, by default, you're always doing preferred health rating. Never, never, no matter, even if they're as buff as Swanson and good and great health, right? You don't do preferred elite. You let the insurance company and labs determine that. Now, if you're a little bit, eerie on it and you're not entirely sure because they're saying, hey, I'm taking medication for this, this, and this, depending on what it is, you may want to do a trial app or call an underwriter or just do non-tobacco. But most of the time, you're going to want to do preferred, right? Now, if you're doing really big cases, I'd recommend a trial app. Like you're talking like $1,500, $2,000 a month, do a trial app. Because that'll be a big fat chargeback, right? Okay, and obviously you guys always do guideline increasing. And let's just say, we'll start with say a $300,000 policy, as an example. Now, as you guys are building the policy, you make sure that you're still talking to the clients while you're doing this. So if I'm sitting down with Janina and Thomas, like, so what else, tell me about your kids. Are your kids into sports or anything? What extracurricular activities are they into? Like, this is stuff you guys should be doing while you're out in the field, while you're still building the illustration. Because I'm building the illustration, I'm looking at, okay, what the target premium is, right? So we're gonna look at a few things. So for somebody my age, 34, for 300 grand, 203 a month. Okay, my rule of thumb is depending on how much they can save, I'm gonna make sure that they're overfunding their policy by at least 20 to 30%. So if they're saving, say, Thomas is saving $400 a month, I'm probably gonna make his target probably about 275 to 300. Does that make sense? That gives me that cushion, so just in case he calls and says, man, I can't afford doing $400 or $500 a month, well, Thomas, can you still do about 300? He's like, yeah, I can do 300, it's more comfortable. You have that cushion. Also, it helps prevent a chargeback of them saying, I can't afford it, I just want to cancel it. Right, you want to have that extra leeway. So now knowing that too, but you also know some of the other numbers, like your 7-pay, that's as much money as I can put in per year. You guys follow? So you have to kind of remember what, like the example Nick uses, it's a bucket. There's only so much money that can go into that bucket, because if it overflows, in the case of a life insurance policy, what does it become?
MEC.
Okay, and then what happens to the money?
Taxes.
So you're trying to avoid that. So if they say, well, I can save X amount, but it looks too much for the policy, essentially you have to say, okay, you have to look at a bigger bucket or a bigger life insurance policy. Now, by the way, guys, depending on how you build the illustration, you might have to change the death benefit if they're putting in too much money up front. You might have to change the death benefit to go up so that they get more cash value out of it, right? So this might be a perfect example. So let's just say start at $300 a month, right? You're 1-to-1. And by the way, guys, the way I'm showing you, you want to do it this way. You want to encourage the client to always overfund their policy. And the reason being is you want to sell it to them big. You don't want to sell 200-300 grand inside of an IUL by the time they're 65. I'll tell you guys the sweet spot, it's roughly about 500 to 600 grand. That's a good sweet spot. Okay, you guys notice how I increase it every single year, correct?
Correct.
So now, as I'm showing this, you right, Eddie? I know it's a little warm.
All fired up.
Right? Okay. So how I would be describing it, like if I was selling this to Thomas, so Thomas, you're 34, so over the next year, you're gonna save, I know, I wish. So you're gonna save $300 a month the first year. Okay, now, as time progresses, as you make more money, you've heard the philosophy, as you make more money, you should be saving more money, right? So the following year, we're gonna do your annual review. Notice how I'm wording it though. We're gonna do your annual review. I'm gonna assume he's gonna be my client. You guys follow? So the following year, we're going to do your annual review. If you're in a financial position where you can save more money, which, by the way, $100 more every single month, that's not going to be a big deal. Because obviously you don't plan on staying at the same income, right? we plan on making more. Third year, right, so 300, 400, 500, 600, starting year 4 all the way up until year 65. So Thomas, you've put in roughly about 209,000. You'll have access to roughly about $560,000, all tax-free. Pretty cool, right? That's equivalent to somebody having roughly about $1.2 million in a 401k. By the way, do you know anybody that has roughly 600 grand all tax-free right now? How'd you like to be the first? Be pretty cool, right?
Yep.
So what I need from you is I need your driver's license, social security number, bank account information, and your doctor's info. Now here's the thing I'm going to tell you guys. Don't ask. Assume they want it. Right? Now that's just Thomas. Now imagine I'm going to do his wife as well. So you combine the two. What if she has just as much? They'll have $1 million tax-free. And also too, you describe it. Now Thomas, if something does happen to you at 65, God forbid, knock on wood, hopefully you're sitting at a kitchen table that's wood, right? Something happens to you, your wife and your kids inherit the $300,000 you're already covered for, plus the other $560,000 that you've accumulated over time, right? Which is how much tax-free? $825,000 tax-free. Okay, I'm going to pause really quick. This is something I posted on my social media not too long ago. You guys realize that when somebody doesn't do business with you or doesn't join you in business, that person is literally robbing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars from their family. So case scenario, if you get a client that's say 30 years old, making 100 grand a year, their earning potential over the next 30 years is $3 million, correct?
Yes.
What if they died within 15 years? How much money are they robbing their family of because they didn't want to get life insurance? $1.5 million. I want you guys to realize this is what we do out in the field. Nobody else is doing what we're doing. Okay? $1.5 million that family's not going to get another 15 years. That's what you guys do. Right? That's, in a sense, that's your business legacy to your clientele. But also, too, it's also reverse for the client. It's what's your legacy gonna be if something happens to you with no life insurance? What is your family gonna do? What is your family gonna do if you rob them of almost $2 million of income because you said no tonight? Which, by the way, I've had very harsh conversation across the kitchen table where the husband doesn't believe in life insurance, and I look at the wife. I say, you realize you married this man. And he's basically saying he doesn't love you guys enough to get life insurance. He'd rather see you guys out in the street. Right? By the way, Thomas, you show how much you love your family by the size of your life insurance policy. Janina, how much is he worth to you? Okay, can you put a dollar figure on it? Right, and then you start working it. Okay, by the way, never be kicked out of a house for that.
Wow.
But now here's a bigger question. Are you confident enough that's what you believe in that you can have that truthful conversation? You guys want to get a $1,000 target? Have that kind of conversation. Especially if you're working in the right market, somebody married, homeowners, kids, right? Then it's easy. But now here's how you make sure that happens too. How much money are you saving? How much money are you putting into your IUL? Because I'll tell you right now, if you can't get somebody to commit to more than $250 a month, it's probably because that's how much you're saving. Right? Like Arthur and I were just talking. He's like, dude, I'm putting $1,000 a month. Oh, $2,000. Sorry. So for him to ask for a $2,000 commitment is a cakewalk. Because that's how much money he's saving into his policy. Right? So just remember that it's a very simple transition. It's okay, Thomas, you're already saving $400 a month. I'm not gonna take any more money away from you. Let's just show you that allocated into a different vehicle that's gonna benefit your family a lot more. Sound fair? Run the illustration. Show them the numbers. Sell it big, right? The cash value, tax-free. That is the main phrase line, tax-free when you hit retirement. And then it's a simple, who do you know that's got 600 grand ready to go tax-free in an account? And I'll say, nobody. How'd you like to be the first? And guess what? A lot of people, they like to be first at certain things, right?
Money.
Money, yeah, especially. Like there's a race of who's gonna be the first millionaire in the room. Right? So that's how you have to think. How would you like to be the first? Great, so what I need from you is I need your driver's license, social security number, your bank account information, and your doctor's info. Can you get that for me? And they say, well, then of course they're gonna give you the objection. They say, well, why do you need that? I'll close my laptop, or I'll close my iPad. And I'll say, okay, let's have a serious conversation. When you retire, do you want to pay tax or not pay taxes? Not pay taxes, okay. You want the legal way of doing it? This is the way to do it. But of course, Thomas, we still need to make sure you qualify first, so we can take an initial application with initial premium and get the ball rolling. Right, but we can't do that unless we move forward. Because doing what you're doing right now is not going to be best for your family. Okay, so you agree it makes more sense, doesn't it? Okay, great. So can you go get that info for me? Pretty simple, right? You guys wonder why somebody like an Eduardo Ceballos or an Arthur Singletary or Nick Lancaster can write 10, 15, 20,000 points in a month? It's because of that. It's been able to sell the illustration and transition to closing the sale. By the way, closing is helping. We've had this conversation before. Closing is helping people. Don't be scared to assume that they want it. Because guess what? I will tell you right now, people will thank you 5 to 10 years later down the road if something were to happen. Because God forbid, we don't know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, do we? No. So you want to make sure that it's okay to kind of push the envelope a little bit. Right? And by the way, all the best closers, they know how to push the envelope. Like I've been on appointments with Nick where people are like, I don't know. I just watch him overcome the objection. I'm just like, damn, it's that easy? That's how I look at it, because I just watch him do it. Right? If you're on my team, you guys have seen me do it before too. It's a very simple transition, right? Okay, so now let's work on a few things. How much time we got? Okay, we're good. Alrighty. So let's go over a few case scenarios. Okay, so if you got your laptop or your tablet, go ahead and take it out. Go ahead. Okay, so who's got it with you? Raise your hand. Okay, so keep your guys' hands up. Who's got them? Okay, so for those of you guys, it looks like it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So for those of you guys who do not have a laptop or tablet with you,
accidentally summon me?
go ahead, and we're going to partner up with someone that's by you that has a tablet or laptop. I'm going to give you guys the case scenario. Okay.
I'll go with her.
Oh, Monica.
Oh, I was gonna go with her.
Oh, how are you guys on this?
Okay. Who doesn't have a tablet? Or who? Johnny, Amanda, why don't you guys sit over here? Or one of you guys come over here, and then somebody else can sit next to Arthur. You guys good? Okay, here's the first case scenario. By the way, real life scenarios, because you guys will agree. Okay. The client.
If you're not next to someone who can run an illustration, you guys, you need to move to where you can run the numbers.
Okay. Everybody logged in?
I need the Wi-Fi password.
Okay. It's My Spectrum 30. My Spectrum 30. Either 2G or 5G.
Where am I going?
2G?
No, I'm trying to help them get on the Wi-Fi. Okay. The password, all lowercase, modern, book, 044. Okay, here we go. So, the first case scenario is a female, 25 years old. I'm just, I know, I'm going against the grain, but, right? Okay.
So sorry, what are we supposed to know?
Oh, my God.
Transamerica.
Or Transamerica.
Transamerica.
If you're not appointed, you're not going to be able to do it. That's all I'm
So,
saying.
if you're not appointed,
yeah.
you
I
need
mean, you have to know how to do it. You have to be appointed to know.
Who's
how to
already
do it. No, it's fine.
No, you can just do 25 years old. Okay, here, borrow mine. Okay, you're on the website?
My WG?
No,
No.
on premier.transamerica.com.
So everyone go to premier.transamerica.com, pull up Transware.
Okay, you're there?
Yeah.
Okay, username mchang124. Password capital S, lowercase TAR, 1984. Okay. Scroll down where it says Transware. As soon as logged in. Okay, so 25 years old. So she's a single mom. Earns $35,000 a year. Can save $200 a month. Real life example. I'm gonna help these guys while you guys are doing that. Okay, scroll down.
See what it says, my transfer.
All right. I'll give you guys a couple more minutes. Also, too, guys, I'm going to mention you're just going to be doing an IUL, so don't think about the term or the Everest right now. Just strictly IUL. Build it. How would you build the illustration?
Are you on?
And also, too, if you can build it, my expectation is you can sell it and you can close me.
Yeah, but we're showing she can build it later than, right?
Yeah, you want to build an illustration. So how I was tiering it, you guys want to do the same thing.
$300 a month, you said?
Yep, start $200 a month.
Oh, 200.
$200 a month. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's just age.
35,000 income.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is your
Mhm.
That's how much you pay.
M Chang 124.
Okay. You're at age 65. Nearly on. I did. So.
All right. So who wants to take their first crack at it? Okay.
What do you want the?
So here's what I want. I want the face amount, how you built it, what the cash value is at 65. Face amount, right? Well, mainly face amount, how you built it, and the cash value at 65.
Should be able to connect it right to there.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to show mine just yet.
No, theirs.
Oh, there's, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're on an iPad or a Mac, you should be able airplay to it right directly. Okay, Arthur, you want to take your first shot at it, dude? Let's go ahead and connect to the airplay.
I'm not familiar with this.
Come on, Arthur.
No, it just shut down. It just shut down. You just see it.
I mean, sorry to throw it.
Yeah, it just shut down. It just started.
Well,
I don't do it again.
All right, Anthony,
Okay,
go
go
ahead.
back up.
Show me what you got, dude. Make me proud.
Versus 2017.
Yeah, that's right.
2017. Yeah, it's like 22. Yeah, now. Now it's like, yeah, for solve, click solve. Yeah. So you can do, I did target premium, so. Yeah, that's good.
Let's see what we got. Or should I stand up? Either or, doesn't matter.
Oh, target face off.
Okay. Oh, you just got logged off. Who else is trying to connect to it?
Nicholas.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
You gotta disconnect.
I got a good one, man.
All right, so run your report,
Okay.
run your illustration. Let's see what you got.
So,
Okay, so scroll down, show me what you got.
okay, so, increasing,
Solve.
guideline increasing, death benefit, and I run it at 300,000 face year.
Okay.
So I did,
Listen, watch and learn.
Nice.
Watch and learn, you guys.
so I had a 300,000 face amount, which are, she said she could save $200. And with that number, they gave me a target premium of about,
I don't care about the target premium.
okay.
Okay, now
It's
show me
running.
the cash value.
So, okay. So
That's
cash-
exactly-
Show the illustration.
That's what I did actually too.
So I ran it.
You tiered it.
and-
So, go, no, you're too far, too far. Okay, stop.
Sorry.
Go back down, right there.
There we go. So then at about age 65, when she retires, her cash value is around $739,000. And her family gets about $1 million. Little over $1 million.
731,000. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, now here's
By what
the,
age?
By age 65, she has 1 point.
okay, I'm gonna point out one thing, but hold on first. Okay, close me.
Okay. So. Okay, man, so who do you know that has, obviously the plan that you have right now doesn't make sense to keep the plan that you have right now for the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay.
I mean, who else do you know that has about, $739,000 as tax-free?
I don't.
So you want to be the first?
I would love to.
Okay, what I need to say is your ID, your
Okay.
social security
Good.
account. Let's get started.
Okay, good. Give him a round of applause. Okay. I'm gonna point out one thing. Pull your illustration back up. I'm gonna point out one thing. Is that your future wifey, dude?
Dream board?
Law of attraction. Law of attraction. All right, I'm gonna point out one thing. Okay, I'm gonna point out one thing. You guys notice this? Anybody else notice this?
Yeah.
48?
Yeah.
It says 4488.
Yeah, see, mine's different.
Minus
Yeah.
2.
My numbers went to 800 something. I ran the same thing. But did you run increasing CVAT? No, huh?
That's why I increased them.
You probably ran a
I ran a guideline.
Guidelines?
Yeah, see, that's part of it.
That's
Okay.
part of it.
One thing you guys have to keep in mind is when you're building those illustrations, especially if they can really overfund the policy, that you want to run it at CVAT. Okay, and here's the reason being is because the CVAT basically gets rid of the corridor of how much money can really go in a sense. So when you look at GPT, it's kind of like this, right? This is visual illustration. If you do CVAT and it's funded properly, it does this.
So I should have done that.
The easiest way to explain it to you guys is just guideline is for someone who's not really going to overfund. CVAT is just, you know, when you look at the 7-pay max, that's the max they could put in for the first 7 years. And then after that, they could put in almost as much as they want. So when you have someone who plans on overfunding, so I ran the exact, just so you know, I ran the exact same numbers. I ran 300,000.
Go ahead and show it, Jake.
Here, I'll show you guys what happened here.
Here, I already know where you're going.
All right, so what I did was I ran the exact same thing. So like if I'm selling this to Matt, so Matt, basically what we did here was I started at $200 a month, but then as you're saving money and disciplining your savings and your budget and stuff, and as you're making more money, as you get older, you know, and depending if they're doing the business or not, they're going to end up making more money, right? Most people in their jobs end up making more money. So what we did is we tiered it. So the first year you're putting 200 a month. The next year you're doing 300 a month, then 400, and then we max out at 500 a month. Now you can always go higher. Matter of fact, if we look here, the most you could put into it for the first 7 years is 7,000. See that 7-pay? So you can go up to 7,000. So we only went to 6. We're not completely max funding it, but we are getting pretty close to it. So like he was talking about as far as front loading it, you could front load up to 7,000 in the first year, okay? So I want you to look at this, and so now you're gonna see this here,
What's your cash value?
and at age 65, you put in, you put in 232,000, but it grew to 887. 2 years later, at age 67, you got $1 million in there, tax-free. Right? So $1 million tax-free is equivalent to what, like 1.5, probably, in a 401k.
Yeah.
So when I'm going through the tax boxes and I'm explaining this stuff, one of the things that I'm going to bring up is, hey, based on what I just went over with you, is what you're doing the best thing for you? Based on what I showed you, do you still feel that what you're saving your money in is the best thing for you? So if they have a 401k, they have an IRA, they have nothing or whatever, typically this is for someone that's already saving but maybe doesn't have an IUL. They're going to say, no, I like IUL. So now you already got them leaning this way already because they want the guaranteed growth, they like the tax advantages, they like the wealth transfer. And then when we run that, when we look at this whole picture right here, you have a death benefit. So not only is there 887 in there at age 65, but death benefits at 1.6 million. Right? So you're at a $1.6 million legacy at age 65. Now, not even putting a penny more in at age 65, they put in 232, they got 887 in there. That's a pretty cool deal, right? Yeah. You fast forward 5 years later, never put a penny more in, and now at age 70, it's at 1.2. So over 5 years, it grew another 400 grand when not putting a penny more into it. And just each year, 887, it goes to 944. So what's 887, 944? That's 13 plus 44. That's what, 57,000. So let's call it $5,000 a month, give or take. They got about, let's say, $4,800 a month just on interest alone. So from 1 year to the next, just on interest alone, that's $4,800 a month on interest that they could just live off of for the rest of their life and still keep that 887 in there. They could just live off that growth, right? And we haven't even ran income stream, which we could show, guys, when we run income stream, which we haven't even showed you, we'll have to show you probably the next time we do illustration training, which will be like the next BPM probably. We'll go through income stream. You'll be blown away with how fast. So it took them 230, took this lady here 30 years to put in 232,000. But when we show income stream at that 57,000 a year or whatever it is, how quick can they pull it out? So now it's like, okay, hey, you put in 232, you got 887. Imagine pulling out 50 grand a year now. That's over 4 or 5 years that you've pulled the money out that you took 30 years to put in. You pulled out as income over the next 5 years, and then you still got all that cash still inside of it. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's really like, it's insane how good this is. And then not to mention, if anything happens to you along the way, you're transferring that cash plus your death benefit to your heirs 100% income tax free. Don't need a will, don't need a trust, although it's recommended to have that stuff, but when you have it tied to life insurance, there is no probate, there's no nothing, it's just a check is cut. However you allocate your percentages is the way it's going to go.
Yep.
Some of you guys just, kind of off the subject too, is some of you guys need to take into consideration your beneficiaries to factor in, do you have your kids as your beneficiaries? Because you realize that it's going to go into a trust until they're 18.
Yep. That
That if you have family members that would take care of your kids, that you should probably allocate a percentage, especially if they're not well off already or whatever. Some people, the parents are well off. They're like, I'll give it to my kids in a trust, and my parents will take care of them with their own money. But if the caregiver is going to need some of that money to make sure your kids are taken care of until they hit 18, then you want to allocate a percentage of that beneficiary percentage to that person that would take over that responsibility too.
Yep.
So look at that as
And
well.
I'm going to give you guys a nugget about that.
What's that?
It would go into probate if there was no.
Well, no, it would just go into a
It goes into a
trust
trust
until
with the life
they're.
insurance
It
company.
would go into a trust until they're 18.
They wouldn't be able to touch it.
It wouldn't be able to touch it.
Right, so I'm going to talk about that too, to add to that. Okay, here's a second case scenario. Second case scenario. All right, you have a 40-year-old male, never married, no kids, no real responsibilities, makes 100 grand a year. Focus is cash accumulation. You have a $1,000 commitment. Okay, by the way, I have clients like this. Actually, his policy is sitting in my office right now. Okay, I can give you guys some time. 40-year-old male, goal is cash accumulation, and you have a $1,000 a month commitment. Okay, remember I said the focus though is cash accumulation. That's the focus. That's the key word.
What age you started for, 65?
65 still. 65. What's your cash value at 65? Give you guys 2 more minutes. Okay, who's got one ready? No?
That was like 2 minutes, bro.
When you do this, walk through all the blocks. Please.
All right, when you have one ready, raise your hand. We'll bring you up. And if you have an iPad, we want to see it.
So this is the one that we're gonna build as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless stated otherwise, you will build the illustration.
Right? Okay.
So you're starting at $1,000.
Guests are ready, you guys, so, yes, Anthony,
Yes.
your guest is ready to the
Yeah,
AMA.
just sit down with him. He said continue code next week. I already had that conversation with him. But yeah, just like, okay, well, talk to him if he's ready to go. He's ready to go. Go ahead and use the office, dude.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right, who's got one ready? I'm like, I'm eager to see what you guys got. Janice, Byron, you guys got something?
Oh, yeah, okay.
How many of you guys would love to have a client that can save $1,000 a month?
I would.
Okay. Anybody? You guys got one?
Mhm.
Okay, let me see what you guys got. Nope.
No.
Nope. All right, you guys want to see mine?
Yes.
Okay. What did I say at the very beginning? What's the focus?
Installation.
So should you be doing like $1 million IUL?
No.
No? Okay, good.
I did a 350.
Not big enough.
I did it,
Yeah, that's-
You're in $500,000 range.
I was doing a 500,000.
Okay.
More than
Here,
that.
pay attention up front, guys. Stop looking at your guys' stuff. Okay. This is what mine looks like. A $550,000 policy. You guys look at the target premium. This is the minimum that has to go in, $500 a month, right? So if you guys want to do the math, take 6133 times your contract. Okay, so if you're, say, if you're an associate, 45% of that. Seriously. So if you're an associate, that's $27.59. One app. Well, most people would make an entire month, you can do in one app. If you're an MD, $38.02. SMDs, $49.06. Okay, but now let's look at what's going in.
No, quick question on that.
Yes.
The death benefit, so what did you get the death benefit for everybody else? So you get
Same thing
700.
like I was telling you the other day. You kind of figure out when you've been out in the field enough, you kind of know, right? So for some of you guys that this is your first time trying to do these, I would suggest playing with the illustration. Learn, okay, if I have $200 and the client's 30 years old, what can I do? Play with the illustration. That's how I got good at the illustration, right? But also too, if you're still field training with your trainer, whether it's your marketing director, your senior associate, your S&D, or your CEO, you want to be paying attention to how they build illustrations. Because remember, your trainer has years of experience already. They kind of already know what to do, right? This is how I learned, just watching Nick. Okay? But now you guys look. One of the things you guys really want to make sure that this number right here, what they're putting in, doesn't cap out. Okay, this is run at CVAT, just so you guys know. $550,000 policy, increasing CVAT. So first year, $1,000 a month. Second year, $2,000 a month. Third year, right, you can just keep increasing it. So by the time he's 65, he's put in $558,000, but there's $1.2 million. Now, you guys got to keep in mind as well, at the same time, how you sell the illustration when they're getting ready to take income stream from it. It's, okay, if I'm sitting down with Thomas and Janina, right, say, okay, what the insurance company is going to do is they're going to give you back your premiums first, right? So it's like you have free insurance. Then they actually start touching the actual cash value. So let's just say he says, well, we only need to live off of, say, 50 grand a year. That money's gonna be there for a very long time, right? Now, here's the thing too. You wanna oversell it in a sense, because you want them to save the money. And then you can scale it back down to what's affordable, right? Because a lot of you guys are like, how the hell do you find a client that can save $1,000 a month? Right market. That's all it is. Right market, by the way, this gentleman, I'll tell you, this client, he's a 15% shareholder in a company. His salary is 400 grand a year. So, and now, by the way, this client is already maxed out his 401k, maxed out an IRA, and was already looking for another place to put money. And he also needed the life insurance as well.
Can you show us how you did fill out the proposal?
Yeah, it's right there.
You know, the first information?
The breakdown,
Oh, the breakdown.
the monthly
you.
breakdown. Or, oh, you're saying the whole thing?
If possible.
Show the whole thing, like, where you put the, everything.
Right there. 1,200, 2 grand. And that, and by the way, guys, that's in a short amount of time. So if you're sitting down with somebody that's 40 years old and they literally have little to nothing, you have to stress the importance of, okay, you need to be saving this kind of money to catch up. Now, by the way, if you can't save this kind of money, what are you doing on Tuesday or what are you doing on Saturday? Because you should recruit them. I was talking about this in pregame. Average number that somebody should have by the time they're 40 to be on track for retirement is $250,000. And if they don't have that, they either need to lower their expenses and they need more money, or both. Right? Like every month I'm looking at my expenses, I'm like, okay, what can I do to spend less money? Right? But this is what it looks like. I don't think, Nick, you think we got time for one more? Should I keep going or no?
906, dude.
906, okay. All right, I'm gonna give you guys a nugget to finish off. You guys get good stuff out of that?
Yeah.
Start learning. So my suggestion is learn the illustration, play with it as much as you can. Now, just like what Nick was talking about, I'm gonna give you guys a caveat of what I've been doing out in the field. Eddie knows what I've been doing. Arthur knows what I've been doing. Okay, if you're sitting down with clients and they want to name their kids as the primary beneficiaries, they can. But now here's the thing: I say, who would you trust enough to make financial decisions for your kids if you're no longer here? They say, oh, it's my brother and my sister. Okay, great. So what I need from you, Thomas and Janina, is I need their contact info, and I want to meet with them right away. I want to explain to them what type of life insurance policy you have, so just in case something happens to you, they know who to call right away. And that's a warm introduction, another appointment just waiting to happen. Because by the way, if you show them an IUL and they're like, I don't have an IUL, I want what they got, guess what you're doing? You're writing a few IULs in their house. Then you do the same thing. Who would you name as your beneficiary? Just over and over and over. You guys realize that's what I've been doing out in the field to stay busy? When the team's not doing much, that's what I'm doing. You guys follow? Because that's another appointment waiting to happen, more business to be written, and more families to be helped, right? So I want you guys to just remember that. That's just for you to stay in a warm market longer. And if you word it in the right way, the right person will say, hey, how do I get involved with you guys? I know a bunch of people that need this. How much money can really be made? And I hope you guys know the comp, because the comp is really what's gonna sell them, and that's how you're gonna recruit them, right? So that, guys, I'm done. Have a great rest of the night. We'll see you guys next week.